The 10th of June 1944, 0610 hours, over the rolling fields west of Cong, the sun sits low, throwing pale light across a sky island with smoke trails. A formation of P-47 Thunderbolts cuts through the morning haze. Their engines pound the air with a steady roar. Inside one cockpit, Lieutenant Mark Dalton grips the control stick with tired hands. Sweat gathers under his helmet. He smells hot oil and metal. The Thunderbolt shakes as he dives toward a column of German armor on a narrow road. Flak bursts rise around him. Black clouds snap open with sharp cracks. Dalton feels the pressure waves hit his canopy. He pushes on. He spots his target, a Panzer IV trying to reach cover. He lines up his guns. 8.50 caliber barrels answer with bright streaks. A German fighter slips in behind him, a Bf 109. Dalton sees the shadow. He pulls hard. The Thunderbolt groans. G-forces press him deep into the seat. He hears his own breath slow and heavy. The 109 closes the gap. On the Thunderbolt's nose, a name is painted in bold white letters. Lucky Linda. The German pilot sees it and hesitates for a moment. Not fear, confusion. Americans name their machines. This moment is only one thread in a much larger story. If you want more stories like this, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. The idea of American pilots naming their planes did not begin as a formal rule. It grew from the culture of the United States Army Air Forces during the build-up to the war. Many pilots were young. Many had never left home before. The aircraft they flew were powerful machines that demanded constant care. Pilots felt a personal bond with them. Ground crews spent long hours learning every bolt and cable. A name on the nose turned an airplane from a serial number into something human. The aircraft most known for these names included the P-47 Thunderbolt, the P-51 Mustang, and the B-17 Flying Fortress. Each had its own purpose. The P-47 carried a radial engine that could climb fast and hit hard. It reached speeds near 430 miles per hour and could dive with great stability. Its 8.50 caliber guns gave it heavy firepower. The P-51 used a liquid-cooled Merlin engine that delivered long-range escort power. It protected bombers deep into German territory. The B-17, with a wingspan of more than 100 feet and a range of over 2,000 miles, carried bombs into heavily defended areas. These designs came from a mix of industrial talent and wartime need. The United States needed aircraft that could reach far, survive damage, and carry enough weapons to change the flow of battle. Factories in California, New York, and Michigan expanded to meet demand. Airfields in England and the Pacific filled with new machines. Each one carried a code. Many carried a name. Betty Lou, Iron Ass, Miss Charlotte. They gave a sense of identity inside a massive war. At first, some commanders argued that painting names or artwork on aircraft might lower discipline. They called it a distraction. Reports show early pushback. One officer wrote, "This practice is unnecessary and may reduce unit cohesion." Training also showed technical weaknesses. The P-47 suffered landing accidents because of its weight and high landing speed. During 1943, more than 150 training losses were recorded in stateside units. Pilots struggled to see over the long nose during takeoff. New crews sometimes forgot mixture or turbo settings. In the P-51, engine cooling could fail if the pilot mishandled throttle and radiator controls. The B-17 faced its own problems. Early models had weak defensive coverage in the nose. Crews learned this the hard way. German pilots mocked the nose art. A Luftwaffe report from late 1943 stated, "Americans treat war like sport. Their painted machines reflect childish thinking." Some German aces believed the names signaled overconfidence. They underestimated the meaning behind them. The early months of combat showed mistakes. Escorts strayed too far from bombers. Pilots chased single targets and burned fuel too quickly. Formation discipline broke down in thick clouds. Many crews were lost. More than 250 American fighters were destroyed over Europe during certain high-intensity months of 1943. The names on the planes could not prevent these losses, but they remained as symbols of perseverance. As the war progressed, pilots learned to use their aircraft with greater skill. The P-47 proved almost unbeatable in a dive. Its rugged structure absorbed hits from 20mm shells that would cripple lighter machines. Tests showed it could descend at over 500 miles per hour without losing control. Pilots used this to strike fast and escape. The P-51 revealed its long-range advantage. With drop tanks, it escorted bombers to Berlin and back. Its speed and agility matched German fighters at most altitudes. Ground crews improved reliability. They logged more than 60 training hours per week to refine engine handling and gunnery calibration. The B-17 gained stronger frontal guns, which improved survival during daylight raids. Pilots discovered that naming their planes helped morale. A named aircraft felt like a partner. Crews pushed harder to maintain it at peak performance. Pilots flew with more confidence. Even some commanders admitted that the practice boosted spirit in difficult conditions. The Germans noticed a change. American formations grew tighter. Escort tactics became more disciplined. Fighter groups moved as one. The P-47 swept ahead to clear the sky. The P-51 guarded bombers with precision. Machines like Dixie Darling and Red Dog 8 became known for their reliability in heavy combat. With skill and coordination, the strengths of these aircraft became clear. The painted names now looked less like decoration and more like marks of experienced crews. One of the first major encounters where named aircraft gained notoriety took place on the 7th of January 1944 near Oschersleben. The 8th Air Force launched a deep strike into central Germany. Rough clouds hid the early part of the route. When the bombers emerged, more than 40 Bf-109s and FW-190s waited. Captain John Howard flew a P-47 marked Caroline. His squadron was outnumbered. German fighters rushed toward the bomber stream. Howard called out, "Break left." He dove into the attack path. His Thunderbolts shook from incoming fire. A 109 closed from his right. Howard fired a short burst. The 109 rolled away trailing smoke. Another came from below, the sky filled with twisting shapes. The wind slapped the canopy. Howard's mind narrowed to simple tasks: turn, fire, survive. The fighting lasted almost 20 minutes. When it ended, Caroline returned with holes across the wings, but still flight-worthy. Howard's group protected the bombers and forced the German fighters to disengage. After landing, ground crews counted more than 50 patches needed. The name on the nose was still clear. A second encounter took place months later, on the 15th of August, 1944, during Operation Dragoon. In southern France, P-51 Mustangs provided air cover as Allied forces pushed inland. One Mustang carried the name Razorback Rosie. Lieutenant James Keller flew it. His unit spotted a formation of retreating German trucks and armored cars. Keller dove through rising dust. The heat shimmered off the ground. He fired rockets and guns in measured bursts. German troops scattered. A pair of FW-190s appeared high above. They dove fast. Keller pulled up. The Mustang strained as the Merlin engine roared. He felt the vibration in his chest. The first 190 overshot. Keller fired. The round struck the fuselage. The second circled for another pass. Keller whispered, "Stay steady." He waited. The German came into shallow. Keller rolled left and climbed. The 190 broke away. Keller returned to base with his fuel nearly empty. Razorback Rosie showed dust, burn marks, and fresh scratches from debris. The mission helped slow German movements in the region. A third story unfolded during the winter of 1945. Thick snow covered the Ardennes. Visibility was poor. A B-17 in Marianne's Gift joined a bombing run against rail lines feeding German supply routes. Staff Sergeant Leo Howard manned the left waist gun. His breath turned white in the cold. German fighters struck from the rear. Tracers cut across the snow-filled sky. The bomber shook under hits. Howard fired back, he shouted, coming up fast. The gun bucked in his hands. A Bf-109 passed close enough for Howard to see the pilot's goggles. The bomber descended to maintain control. Engines sputtered. The interphone carried tense voices. Hold her, hold her. Mary Ann's gift stayed in formation, despite heavy damage. Another bomber might have turned away, but the crew trusted their aircraft. They reached the target and dropped their load. On the return flight, 2 engines lost power. The pilot glided the bomber to an airfield in Belgium. They landed hard but safe. The ground crew later said the aircraft should have broken apart. The name on the nose remained a point of pride. These engagements showed how named aircraft became symbols of determination. Crews fought with focus. They pushed machines beyond expected limits. Their actions shaped the final stages of the air war in Europe. American production power played a major role in sustaining the fight. The United States built more than 15,000 P-47s, 15,000 P-51s, and over 12,000 B-17s. Factories operated day and night. Supply ships crossed the Atlantic with engines, ammunition, and fuel. Some months saw more than 20,000 fighter sorties flown from British airfields. Losses were high, but replacements arrived quickly. German production struggled to match this output. Luftwaffe units faced fuel shortages. Training hours dropped from more than 200 per pilot early in the war to fewer than 100 by 1944. American pilots often had longer training and more reliable aircraft. Heavy bomber campaigns forced Germany to divert resources to air defense. Each named aircraft carried one small part of a massive industrial effort that shaped the final outcome of the war. German pilots reacted in mixed ways to the painted names. Some felt the Americans treated the war with casual boldness. Others admitted the names made identification harder. A fighter ace once wrote in his diary, "Their planes have faces. It feels like fighting a crowd that refuses to break." Ground troops reported similar reactions. After repeated attacks by Thunderbolts, some infantry referred to them as the Whispering Giants because the dive sounded like distant thunder until it struck. Seeing an aircraft marked Aunt Betty or Rough Ride created a strange impression. It looked personal. It showed confidence. Morale on the German side often dropped when large groups of named fighters appeared overhead. It signaled that American strength was growing and would not fade. By late 1944 and early 1945, American aircraft received upgrades. The P-47 got improved turbo controls and stronger wing pylons for bombs and rockets. The P-51 gained better high-altitude performance and revised gun sights for accuracy. The B-17 received thicker armor plates and improved turrets. Tactics shifted too. Fighter escorts flew closer to bomber formations. They kept more fuel for defensive turns. Strafing runs against trains and convoys became common. Pilots used speed and altitude advantages to strike without long engagements. Names on aircraft continued, though some later units used simpler markings as turnaround times grew shorter. Still, many crews kept the tradition alive. The names remained a reminder of earlier months when identity and morale mattered most. By the end of the war, named American aircraft had flown thousands of missions. They destroyed enemy fighters, tanks, vehicles, and supply lines. They escorted bombers deep into enemy territory. Many were lost. Many survived long enough to return covered in patches and stains from heavy combat. The practice of naming aircraft shaped morale and unity. It helped pilots face long missions. It gave ground crews a sense of pride. German aces who once mocked the idea later admitted respect. One veteran stated, "When I saw a Mustang with a name on the nose, I knew the pilot believed in his machine." That made him dangerous. From early doubt to final victory, The tradition proved its value. The legacy is simple. These names turned machines into symbols of resolve, and that resolve helped win the war.